Vice President of FDA, and in moments from now we also will be joined by Milind Sarwate. Mr. Gulati, good morning. Thank you for joining us. You know, if I remember a conversation I had with the chairman of Maruti exactly a year ago, Mr. R.C. Bhargav, and he told me the following: we have a shortage of vehicles. The demand is so strong that dealers are queuing outside my factory to pick up the cars. And the same man is telling me that right now there is a glut, we are cutting our production, and we've never seen a slowdown like this in the last 10 years. So in 1 year, what has changed?
A lot of things have changed actually. For the past 2-3 years, the auto industry was growing. The consumption was very good, and the patterns were on the positive side. But since the last year, if you have seen, there were a lot of compliances which have come up from April regarding that ABS, EBDs, and the push on pollution norms. Things have changed. The prices of the vehicle has gone up, and the customer sentiment towards the vehicle is not that buoyant which was before. So people are now waiting, postponing their decisions. And lately the ride-sharing things and the Uber, Olas have also disrupted the market, which is affecting the market in the auto trade as of now.
Okay, that's one part. The second part is FMCG. This is a clear indication of what the consumer is feeling. I mean, I understand that auto demand is a function of liquidity, your future projected earnings. It is a function of interest rates. But when you see a drop in demand for soap, shampoo and toothpaste, it just tells you that, look, the slowdown is just not restricted to autos, it is at a very consumer level.
So basically, if you see, the major that's hampered is in the two-wheeler segment, and two-wheeler segment actually gives the exact growth what FMCG also has, and it is affecting majorly because of the rural growth. You see, the agriculture growth, which was around 5% in F17, has come down to around 2.7% now. And if the rural growth doesn't happen, the agriculture is not that good. Maybe there are a lot of reasons for agriculture going down. It affects the basic daily use things what FMCG goes for. And it also affects in our line, which is the two-wheeler. Two-wheeler has always seen a double-digit growth, which is now in a real, going to even have a single-digit growth now.
Sarwate as well, who now joins into the discussion, and you know, it seems, Mr. Sarwate, that the word that we're using across the FMCG space is slow down, but the question is this temporary in nature? Are we likely to see a rebound, or is this a telltale sign of what lays ahead?
I feel that the slowdown currently is really firm, and it's not a periodic phenomenon. There could be a post-election short burst of growth, but fundamentally the slowdown is being led by rural, and the factors in rural can be resolved only after we have a good monsoon and there is a pickup in the income generation space in the rural areas. I feel that one of the big developments in the past few years has been the relative deceleration in the informal economy in the rural areas. It started with the demonetization, the GST implementation. So the whole informal business in the rural areas seems to have been affected. There is one evidence of this in the sense that the Narega demand has gone up by as much as 14% in FY19 as compared to the earlier years. For a couple of years before that, it was relatively flat. So indicates that the informal economy has suffered, and that results in depressed buying behavior in the rural space. So I think this is here to stay for some time, at least as far as rural India is concerned.
Okay. Vinkesh, would that also be your analysis, and would you agree with what Milind is saying, that, you know, yes, there is a problem within rural consumption. It may stem from a failure of the government to not let disposable cash flow seep into rural India, And maybe this is not an election-only thing, as most management seem to be indicating, be it Maruti or some of the other FMCG players, that after elections, you will see some of the demand actually pick up. Do you sense that the problem is larger than that? And rural India pace will continue to be slow for the next foreseeable future?
We see a bit of a upswing in the festive season, which comes with the Ganapati, Onam, and then Navratri and Dhanteras, and then the marriage season, which is a 3-month period from September to November. But then again, unless and until the rural demand goes up, the consumption pattern is improved. We don't see a very, very good and a positive future ahead in the auto trade also.
Mr. Sarwate, the one side is demand, second side is margins. Do you think the peak of the post-GST margin expansion for most of the FMCG companies is behind us? Because, demand may come, it may go, it's a function of how you feel. Frankly, everybody, when they talk about rural demand, I have a simple data which says that we are a service-dominated economy now. Farmers account, or the farm income account for less than 20% of the total, GDP per se. But my worry, Mr. Sarwate, is margins. Have they peaked out?
They may not have peaked necessarily, but I don't think there will be a durable spurt in margins. There were certain one-time events like the GST coming in and the input tax credit benefit being available, especially to FMCG companies because of their large spending on advertisement and sales promotion. The unification of service tax and excise duty and sales tax gave them that one-time big opportunity. I think that is behind us. And now onwards, it will again get driven by the underlying input costs, commodities, crude and some agricultural commodities. And there could be some variations in these. For example, companies which make coconut oil, there may be a copra-based price benefit. But those are one-off things, and I think in the medium term, the margin expansion journey may be at least decelerated, if not halted completely.
Okay. Just getting in your view then, Vinkesh, particularly when it comes to the two-wheelers, because the two-wheeler volume growth has fallen to the lowest since demonetization, in fact, so over the last 3 years nearly. Do you sense that for the two-wheelers that there is likely to be more pain in store based on the kind of factors that you as well have alluded to?
So the future, I agree, is not that great. The two-wheeler market is majorly based out of rural growth, and it's what cash in hand people have. Nowadays, people are not spending. After the demonetization, their savings and the hoarding of cash has increased a bit because the confidence is lacking. And if you talk on them, they are still postponing their decision, seeing what will happen in the future. And lately, since September, the consumption of two-wheeler has also gone down because of what I told you, the compliances like insurance going up and the prices of the vehicle going up. And on the other hand, the rural income, the agricultural income going down. Even the job scenario where the farmers' children are coming to the town for the job is in a bad shape. The employment rates are less. So all the things what they are seeing is not very positive in the future. So they are holding all the things and waiting for the good times to come back to the market and buy things. So I feel this will at least affect a year or so, and maybe after 2020 there will be some respite to us in sales.
Sarwate, closing comments from you. Can you identify 2 or 3 large consumer categories where you think that right now one should not, they will continue to grow in late single digit or early double digit for next 2 or 3 years?
I would say a couple of things. Firstly, it is increasingly getting difficult to view the FMCG industry as one unified industry. There is the general trade, there is modern trade, and there is the e-trade or the e-commerce trade. You will find that modern trade and e-trade, e-commerce, have continued to grow at a very significantly higher clip than the general trade. So that's one distinction we need to observe. Secondly, I feel that the HPC products, the household and personal care products, they would tend to do better than the staples or the food and food processing categories. Having said this, I also feel that carrying on from what the earlier speaker said, there is definitely a dampening of the buying behavior or the feel-good factor in the economy. I think people seem to be waiting. This is also indicated by the fact that the money in circulation is at an all-time high nearly. It is significantly higher than what it was after demonetization. And notwithstanding that, we are seeing this slowdown in rural and partly in urban areas. So I think there is some waiting in the minds of consumers. I feel maybe a clear election result which leads to a stable government, a good monsoon, these factors could result into some categories growing. And I would give a lot of weightage to the discretionary categories as opposed to the staples categories.
All right, gentlemen, we'll let you go on that note. Thanks very much for giving us a sense of how things are shaping up within the consumption sector. And I'm guessing from the commentary that we've received from both of you, it seems like this is not just a one-time phenomenon. And given the fact that we're seeing a slowdown in the rural sector, that perhaps could escalate going forward.